Hello, everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of the Metabolism and Menopause podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I am your host and CEO of Vitality OET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that you start experiencing so many changes in this time of your life, whether it be hot flashes, night sweats, irritability, brain fog, or weight gain around the middle that seems to have come out of absolutely nowhere despite you not changing anything. So you go back to those tried and true methods of cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of cardio, yet nothing seems to be working. In fact, you're putting in all this effort and it feels like you might actually be moving backwards. But we know now that your body is inherently different now that you've gone through these hormonal changes. So our mission here at Vitality is to really help you understand how your body changes in this time of your life so you can reach those health and fitness goals, live a life full of vitality, feel in control and at home in your body again, and really understand how to take care of this new body of yours. So today I want to talk about these 7 steps to becoming menopause proof. This does not mean that you're not going to go through menopause. It is something that every single woman on the face of this planet will get the opportunity to do, right? We hope we do. And so I want to talk about how can we really set ourselves up to have a more smooth transition, to not experience as many negative side effects, to make sure that we're not seeing all these negative body composition changes that tend to come hand in hand with these changes in hormonal levels. So the thing that you do need to be aware of is that we have the biggest body composition changes in the 3 to 4 years prior to menopause. So menopause is 1 full calendar year, 365 days without a period. Perimenopause is when our hormones start to fluctuate, when we start to have these symptoms. You can still be having a regular period, you can still have a regular cycle and be in perimenopause. And it can happen as much as 10 years before you have that 1 year without a cycle. So if you go at age, let's say 47, that's the year that you go 1 full year without a cycle. You could have been in perimenopause as young as 37. So this is why it's really important to understand that we have to be proactive. If we are waiting until we're actually at that point, we miss a massive opportunity to set ourselves up for success because the biggest body composition changes happen in the 3 to 4 years before that 1 calendar year without a cycle. So this means you cannot wait until you are in menopause to start taking action. We need to be proactive. So if you're already in menopause or post-menopause, that's okay. You can still work on these things. But if you have friends, if you have family, if you have younger women in your life that you want to help them set themselves up for success, I highly recommend you share this podcast episode with them so that they can really set themselves up for success, not experience all the negative side effects that maybe you struggled with. So the biggest thing is you need to start taking action now, and there is no such thing as taking action too soon. So here's some statistics for you. Women's average life expectancy is about 81 years. The average age of menopause is 51 years. Early onset, 38 to 40 years. Late onset, 55 to 60 years. The length of perimenopause is anywhere from 2 to 12 years. You will spend 40 to 60% of your lifetime in perimenopause or postmenopause. You are going to spend likely the majority of your life peri and postmenopause. So why are we not talking more about this, about how to have better longevity, to have better health, to have better body composition, to have a better life, peri and postmenopause? Because the years before that are very short. Our lifespan before that is short. Half of that we're spent is children, right? And then we're going through puberty, which is a whole fun time, right? We all remember what that was like. Then you have like this time in your life where things get a little bit better-ish cycle-wise, ideally, right? Which is like 25 to 35, where like things kind of feel stable-ish. And then things start to go sideways. So you have like 10 years of like where you kind of know what's happening with your body. If you didn't get pregnant, right? Because then that's a whole other thing. So we need to learn how to thrive and take care of ourselves and set ourselves up for success for the majority of our life, which no one has taught us. It's not like you have 10 good years and like hopefully pregnancy goes well for you and then it's over. No, this is supposed to be an opportunity to be healthy, to be happy, to learn how to thrive in your 30s, 40s, 50s, and beyond. Okay. So again, a woman's life expectancy is about 81. You go through perimenopause around 51, or you go through menopause at 51, and then you spend perimenopause 2 to 12 years. So you spend 40 to 60% of your lifetime in perimenopause and further. Like, that is a huge chunk of your time. So let's learn how to set yourself up for success and thrive during this time. More specifics again. So in those 3 to 5 years, I talked about how that's where you really start to see the most body composition changes for women in perimenopause, right? In menopause, we start seeing changes. So what does that body composition change look like? Well, the 3 to 5 years leading up to menopause, so AKA perimenopause, you will start seeing an increase in your fat mass. Not awesome. This is due to declines in estrogen and a few other things. We also see in those 3 to 5 years that muscle mass decreases. So not only are you gaining fat, you are losing muscle, which means your body fat percentage is going to increase, which is not awesome, right? We don't want that. That's associated with poor health, more inflammation, more cardiovascular disease risk, metabolic disease risk, right? We don't want that. Plus, we don't look good. We don't feel confident, right? So we want to address that. And we know that weight starts to increase in the 3 to 4 years leading to menopause and continues for up to 10 years. Weight starts to increase 3 to 4 years leading into menopause and then the 10 years post. So weight increases, fat mass increases, muscle mass decreases. You have an increase in your body fat percentage in the 3 to 4 years leading up to menopause and then the 10 years that follow. That is not a good time. I probably just ruined your day and I'm sorry. But we're going to talk about how can we avoid this negative shift? How can we avoid gaining fat and losing muscle mass and avoid seeing this increase in our body fat percentage? And also at the same time, counteract those nasty side effects, those hormonal side effects that we're experiencing, like the hot flashes, the night sweats, the irritability, the brain fog, the bloating, the anxiety, the depression, the insomnia, the poor energy, the energy crashes, the blood sugar spikes, all of those things. How can we proactively prevent those or minimize the risk of developing those things? And again, thrive for the 60% of your life that you have, right? So first, let's talk about building muscle and controlling cortisol and blood sugars, because those are the 3 things that we really, really have to emphasize, because those are the things that go to crap when estrogen starts to decline, unfortunately. So we have to be very proactive to counteract those effects, because it's not just going to happen on accident. I think you've probably figured that out now, because now you're trying to be proactive about it and it's challenging, right? So of course, it's not going to happen by accident. So we need to set ourselves up for success. So the 3 keys you really want to focus on is controlling our cortisol levels, controlling our blood sugar levels, and building and maintaining as much muscle as possible. Those 3 things alone are going to set you up for success. But what are the 7 things that really help you do that? Right? Because we might think cutting carbs is the answer for blood sugar, but that's negative for our cortisol levels and also negative for building muscle. So that's not really a solution, is it? So step number 1, to make yourself menopause proof, to help counteract the increase in fat mass, the decrease in muscle mass, and the increase in body fat percentage is going to be lifting heavy. And I know a lot of women hate this. There's been comments on like social media and stuff with like, I hate that people keep saying I have to lift heavy. I don't want to. That's not fair. How am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to achieve these results when I don't want to do that? The truth is you don't, which is really, really crappy to hear, but you cannot build muscle without resistance training. It will not happen. Physiologically impossible. And is that fair? I mean, it's facts, right? That might be frustrating, but there's no other way around it. You can't counteract this any other way. You can't build muscle any other way. And why you might feel that's unfair, that's just how our bodies work. And just because you're not happy with the way that you need to achieve those things doesn't mean that's going to change, which sucks, right? So you need to lift heavy. So just because you're following along to YouTube workouts, right? Just because you are, focusing on doing stuff with weights, you're going to spin classes, and there's a song that has weights in it, right? The Pilates, the yoga, those things don't build muscle mass, right? Just because you're doing a boot camp or a HIIT training class doesn't mean you're going to build muscle just because you're using weights. It does not work that way. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that you are lifting heavy, but this also means lifting in the right way, making sure that you are following a progressive overload program. So if your workout is changing every single week, every single day, you're not going to build muscle. If you're a very brand new newbie exerciser and never lifted weights before, you'll see a little bit of change at the beginning, but then it'll stall. Because what we need to do is you need to follow the same program. If you're working out Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you are doing a full body workout that looks a little bit different Monday, Wednesday, Friday, a little bit variety there. But every single week, the workouts are the same for 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. And what you are doing is you are trying to get stronger at the thing that you are doing. So for example, right now for me, one of my workout days is I'm doing deadlifts. I'm doing 4 working sets of 8 to 10 reps. I'm working on building up some muscular endurance at the same time here. So 8 to 10 reps. I'm taking a 2-minute rest in between each set and then seeing if I can lift heavier. Every single week on Monday, I am trying to see if I can deadlift a little bit more, even if it's 2.5 pounds, even if it's 5 pounds more. I'm trying to challenge my body to be able to go more heavy. Okay. A way to make it more challenging, because I don't want to be able to go more than 10 reps above, right? So if I could do 12 reps, that means that exercise is too challenging. So I'm supposed to be in 8 to 10 reps. So if I could do 12 reps, 15 reps, I need to up the weight, or I need to seriously slow down the movement, pause the top, pause the bottom to make it more challenging. So I can't go past 12 repetitions. So when I see women doing things like rows, you're using 10 pounds. How many times did you do that? I want you to actually do the weight that you are using right now. See how many reps you can continue to go. Keep doing it. Keep doing it. I can guarantee you if you are rowing with 10 or even 15 pounds, you're probably going to get to the 20 rep range. That's not challenging enough. Make it so you can't go past 12. Because most of you are seriously not even tapping into the potential that you have, and therefore you will never build muscle mass. And nobody wants to work out and not look like it, right? You want to look like a person who works out because you work out and you feel like it should show. You feel like you deserve to see those changes. And while that might be true, your perceived effort is off. You feel like you're working hard enough. You feel like you're challenging yourself, but are you? Because your body is never going to change. If it doesn't have to do anything to lift more than 10 pounds, why would it add muscle? There is no reason to. If I am deadlifting, or let's say the example of rowing, and every week I'm trying to add 1 more rep or make it a little bit more challenging, or I'm slowing it down, or I'm upping the weight, my body is actively going, oh my gosh, okay, we can't lift this anymore. This seems to be a demand that Stephanie needs to accomplish. This is a task that she needs to do. So therefore we need to build muscle so that she can actually do this, because she keeps trying to do it. So that message is sent to the brain that, hey, we need to get stronger. If you're just doing 10, 15 pounds, you're carrying your kids around and stuff, guarantee you're lifting heavier on a regular basis. Your body has no reason to change because there's nothing forcing it to. So this is how this looks like. Okay. On Monday, I'm going to give you the example of the workout I did the other day. I do my deadlift, 4 sets of 8 to 10 reps, 2-minute break in between. The 2-minute break in between is necessary because as estrogen levels start to decline, we have a harder time accessing energy stores. And if you are truly pushing yourself and challenging yourself, you need those 2-minute breaks to replenish those energy stores in the form of carbohydrates and glycogen in your body. This is how this works. And then I can lift again, because if you aren't taking those rest periods in between, it ends up being more cardio with weights, which isn't resistance training. This is what those circuit classes are like, your boot camps, the Orange Theories, the F45s, all these things that are shorter rest periods, that's not true resistance training. You need that break to actually replenish the energy stores so you can push harder to see if you can lift heavier each time you pick up that weight. Okay? So I do my 4 sets of deadlifts. I do 2-minute breaks in between, 8 to 10 reps. Then I move on to my next exercise. And this one, I am actually supersetting seated cable rows with Bulgarian split squats. This is a lunge where you put your foot up, that's behind you, up on the edge of the bench, and you're going up and down. So I do my 8 to 10 cable rows. I take a 45-second rest, and then I go into my lunges, because with those, I am using a different muscle group, right? So replenishing stores there. I do my 8 reps on one leg, take 45 seconds break, 8 reps on the other leg, and then I take a 2-minute break, and then I repeat. Okay, and I do that for 3 rounds. So every Monday, that workout looks the same. There's more exercises, but I'm not going to go through all of them with you. But every Monday, that workout looks exactly the same. And I'm doing this for 4 to 6 weeks, and then I'm changing my workouts, or I'm changing my rep ranges or the tempo or whatever. I'm adding some variation to send a new signal to the brain that, hey, I need to build muscle in a different way, or, change it up often enough where I'm, sending a new signal so my body responds. But changing workouts every single week, every single day, following to those videos are not going to get you super toned and build muscle mass that you need. And it's harder to build muscle mass during perimenopause and menopause when estrogen starts to decline. So you need to try even harder, to push even harder to get those results. Okay. And I can guarantee you the women that you're following on those workouts did not get toned and build muscle mass and get lean by doing the workouts they are showing you. It was days and hours and years and months, like decades in the gym beforehand, putting on a lot of muscle mass, and now they can maintain doing those workouts, right? But they didn't get to that point by doing those workouts, which is very deceiving on social media, and they won't tell you that. They won't show you that because they want you to buy their exercise programs, right? They want you to follow along to their YouTube videos, and then that's how they get ads, money from ads, right? That's what they don't tell you. So again, this is something that is so important for you to really understand. And the rest days are important too, because if you are working out the same muscle group every single day, you're never going to build muscle. You need to hit a muscle group every 2-ish days, 2 to 3 days. So I'm going to show you with my hands. If you're not on YouTube, then you might want to swing by here so you can see the example I'm going to give. But you have a horizontal line like a graph, and this is your body's muscle mass. Okay, when you work out, it breaks down muscle mass. That's what's supposed to happen. So it comes down. And then during your rest time, like your recovery days, you build muscle mass back up, and then it overcompensates. Now you have more muscle than you did before. But what happens with a lot of people is they're doing the same workouts all the time. Like every single day, they're hitting the same muscle groups. And so you break it down, you break it down, you break it down, you break it down. You never allow for that muscle mass to actually come back up and overcompensate. But then a lot of you, for example, are following a 3-day workout program where Monday is legs, Tuesday's upper body, Friday is core. So what happens is you have that muscle breakdown signal for a day and then muscle building signal for the next day, okay, to simplify it for you. And then you don't hit it again for 6 days. So then it comes back down to baseline, and you're never actually getting this part where you get to peak and hit it at that top point. So if you're working out every other day, you want to hit those same workout or the same muscle groups. So Monday I do legs, and then I recover, come back up, and then I hit them again. So then it breaks down, and then it recovers and comes back up even higher. Breaks down and comes back up even higher. Comes down and breaks up, comes back up even higher. So what we're seeing is you want to be able to hit those muscle groups consistently enough, but give enough break in between. So this is why if you are working out 3 days a week, you're doing full body. So you can hit those muscle groups at their peak, and again, break down and build up even higher, break down and build up even higher, and that's how you build up more muscle mass. If you're working out 4 days a week, this is a great opportunity to do upper body, lower body break, upper body, lower body break, break, however you want to split it up that way. Because then again, you're hitting that muscle group again in like that 2 to 3 day span where it's at its peak. So you can break down and see that super compensation. That's what it's called. It's muscle super compensation. So you can look that up if you want more information on that. If you are working out 5 days a week, typically what I do is lower body, upper body, break, lower body, upper body, full body. That's typically how I like to program it for people, and then a break. But honestly, most people, you can see great results just working out 2 to 3 days a week, full body, or a 4-day split, upper body, lower body, as long as you're actually consistent. So if you're consistently missing out workouts, then you're not hitting your muscle groups consistently enough or often enough to see those changes. Okay, so that's lifting heavy. Rule number one, you will never, ever build muscle if you are not following a progressive overload program. You are lifting heavy enough, following it consistently for 4 to 6 weeks. You have those rest periods, and you're actually challenging yourself, and you're hitting that muscle group again every 2 to 3 days. Okay, that is rule number one to really set yourself up for success for making yourself quote unquote menopause proof, right? Super, super important. If you don't do this, you will lose muscle mass. That's just a matter of fact. Is that fair? Just how the body works. I don't make the rules. This is scientifically very proven and shown. This is how you do it. Okay. Number two is cardio. I get questions about cardio all the time. So there are things that you need to know. If you're doing consistent cardio all the time, like you're a runner or a cyclist, that's great. You'll get benefits from, cardiovascular health and things like that. But it's not great for building muscle mass. It actually decreases muscle mass. So you have to make sure that if you are doing cardio, that you are doing enough resistance training to counteract the muscle loss that comes from doing cardio. And again, cardio still counts as the circuit trainings, the boot camps, the F45s, the Orange Theories, all those things, okay? So how can we do cardio in a way that is going to minimize muscle loss? This is where your HIIT and sprint interval training comes into play. I do want to caveat this. Sprint and HIIT interval training or Tabatas are only appropriate for women who are in a good spot. If you are someone who is struggling with energy and energy crashes, you are struggling with poor sleep, if cortisol is an issue for you, if you are very go, if you are skipping meals, if you are fasting, if you are having coffee on an empty stomach, you feel stressed in general, you are struggling to get results from your workouts, HIIT and sprint training are not ready. It's not a good option for you yet. Okay. Because I know a lot of people talk about Stacey Sims and things like that. And her research is phenomenal. I've read her books. I read all her research. I stay very up to date on all things perimenopause, menopause, women's health, hormones health, always taking multiple certifications at the same time. So I'm very well versed in this. So yes, there are recommendations to do sprint training and HIIT interval training, but only if your body is ready for it. And if you are tired and struggling with a ton of hormonal symptoms and you are not sleeping well, you're waking up in the middle of the night and can't fall back asleep, or you struggle to fall asleep, your energy is not good, you don't wake up feeling well rested, you are having energy crashes, again, you're fasting, you're skipping meals, your calorie intake's kind of all over the place, it's low some days, high some days, or it's just low all the time, you're not having enough carbohydrates, this is not for you, okay? But if you are the small percentage of women that I talk to who are in a good place, then you could do some sprint and HIIT interval training. So a little bit about sprint interval training here. It does result in a 90% reduction in body fat percentage and moderate cardio. Okay, so sprint training is going to be superior for body fat reduction compared to just doing steady state cardio. So this is your nice long jog, right? And it shows this even when it's done for less time. So for an example, what would sprint interval training kind of look like? 10 to 20 seconds on of your max effort, giving it your all, and then 2-minute recovery. So you're just really light walking for 2 minutes. Push hard for 10 to 20 seconds, 2-minute recovery, okay? And you would do that 6 times. Okay. Or you could do 20 to 30 seconds of an all-out sprint, and then your recovery is 1.5 minutes to 1 minute and 40 seconds. And you do that for six rounds. Okay. So if you're doing that compared to doing just a steady state jog for that same amount of time, total time that it would take you to do that, you are going to see better results from the sprint training than the jogging. But again, only if you are in a good position. If you are tired and struggling with cravings and energy crashes and sleep, and you're not having carbs and you're eating low calorie and you're go, this is not for you. Then we have HIIT or Tabata, where it's 20 seconds on, 10 seconds rest, 20 seconds on, 10 seconds rest. You do 4 rounds of 2 exercises. So it'd be 20 seconds of squats, 10-second break, and then, 20 seconds of push-ups, then 10-second break, and you would repeat that 4 times, okay? It's very short. This is not supposed to be something that takes you a long time. There's multiple circuits. It's very short, okay? Because you're giving it your all max effort, okay? The other thing to know about cardio is if you are going to do cardio, do not do it prior to your lifting session. Never do cardio prior to your lifting session because you are emptying the tank. And we know that resistance training is where you are going to get the most bang for your buck, how you build muscle mass. If you're already depleting yourself before doing that, you're not going to get the best results from that workout because A, you can't push as hard, your performance won't be as great, you can't lift as heavy, and therefore you won't be able to maximize the muscle building signal that you need to counteract the muscle breakdown signal from low estrogen. Okay? So there are studies that are starting to show that doing cardio prior to resistance training is detrimental to your ability to generate strength and get results from those workouts. So if you're going to do cardio, you're doing it after your resistance training workout, okay? Or on non-workout days. So that's the thing on cardio. So rule number 1, you're lifting heavy, you're following a progressive overload program, you're doing true resistance training. 2, you are incorporating sprint interval training and HIIT training once you are in a good spot. Okay, this is the last thing that I usually recommend people to do because there are other things that are going to move the needle so much more and are so much more important at this time. Number 3, your carbohydrates. Yes, I said that. Carbohydrates are one of the keys to making yourself menopause proof. I know most of you are pooping your pants right now going, nope, she's wrong, turning this off, baloney, not a thing. Let me explain to you here. First of all, we want carbs to be present at every single meal in your day. You are going to, everyone's like, oh, but blood sugar. Yes, blood sugars issues start to happen when our estrogen levels start to decline. However, the carbohydrate itself isn't the problem. All foods is going to raise your blood sugar at least a little bit. Okay, but it's the structure of your meal. How is the whole meal affecting your blood sugar? When is the last time you just had a bowl of white rice? I don't think I've ever done that. Maybe when I was a baby, but that's about it, right? So how can you incorporate carbohydrates without spiking your blood sugars? Because we know that's a whole other issue, right? So you want to make sure you're having some veggies or protein first before dipping into your carbs. So if you want to have pasta, sweet. Have a side salad and a little bit of protein before having your pasta. Boom, problem solved. Not a big deal. But what if you're having a sandwich, Steph? I'm not going to break apart the sandwich and eat the meat first and the veggies and then the bread. That ruins the essence of the meal. Exactly. You're not supposed to do that, right? So what you would do is just have some veggies and dip before. Have a veggie starter or have a little bit of protein before. Maybe you're having like some meat and cheese and then having your sandwich, and then make sure your sandwich has substantial amount of protein in it. You're not just having 1 or 2 slices of deli meat. Like you're loading that baby up with some chicken, some veggies. You're choosing a whole grain bread that's got some fiber and, maybe some quinoa and flax in it to up the protein content even more. You don't need to have low carb bread. Can we just stop that? When you compare the ingredients of low carb bread to regular whole grain bread, there's more ingredients. It's packed full of artificial fibers that cause a lot of digestion issues for women and inflammation, which is not great, more bloating. And they take away the fiber calories from the total. So it looks like it's a low carb bread, but it's actually not, or a low calorie bread, but it's not because they have 17 grams of artificial fiber in it. They times that by 4, remove it from the total calorie intake or the calories quoted on the label. So when you compare side by side breads, the calorie intake is pretty similar, which is wild, but nobody shows you these things, right? Because it's all marketing and they want to make money. And as soon as you slap on low carb or keto or high fiber on something, make it a quote unquote health food, it's $3 more a loaf and magically somehow healthier for you. And that's not necessarily the case. So fun fact there. The other thing is when you are having carbs, so yes, you want to try and incorporate those later into the meal when you're eating them, but also just never having carbs on its own. Nobody thinks much about just eating an apple by itself, right? But that's going to spike your blood sugars as well. So make sure that you're having it with some peanut butter or some yogurt or a piece of cheese, right? You're never having carbohydrates on its own. And then when you are choosing carbohydrates, you want to aim for higher fiber whole foods wherever you are able. So a whole grain bread with like natural ingredients, high in fiber, right? Aiming for higher fiber pastas. You're having your potatoes, amazing for you, filled with resistant starches, which are actually going to lower your blood sugars, your blood sugar response. You're having your quinoa, you're having your rice, you're having all those things. They're all great options for carbohydrates. So let me talk about the dangers of eating low carb and why it's like really setting you up for a crappy menopausal transition. Number one, eating low carb is actually quite detrimental to our health when we go through perimenopause and menopause because we see those estrogen levels drop. We know that when estrogen drops, we are going to have a harder time accessing energy stores. I talked about this with workouts. This is why working out fasted is a horrific idea during perimenopause and menopause. There is zero benefit. This is shown now in studies so much. Finally, thank goodness. It's going to lower your gym performance. So you're going to see less results from your workouts, which nobody wants to look like they don't work out when they do work out. That sucks. And we're going to see an increased exaggerated cortisol response. So cortisol is supposed to go up during workouts. That is a good response. However, we don't want it to be super exaggerated. So if you're having carbohydrates, that'll help minimize that a bit. It'll help fuel your workouts. It will also help with your recovery too. So having carbohydrates is really great for you. We also know when estrogen starts to drop, we become something called more catabolic. Our body wants to get rid of muscle mass. It's great at breaking down muscle mass when estrogen declines. We don't want that because muscle is what keeps our metabolism high, burns a lot of calories at rest, making it easier to lose weight, right? And less likely for you to gain weight if your body is good at burning calories. It's also what makes you look fit and toned. So muscle is a yay. But we know that when we eat low carb, it also is going to make it more likely for our muscle mass to decrease because carbohydrates are muscle sparing. Our body is not going to be tempted to break down muscle mass for energy like it is when we're fasting, when we're eating low carb, when we're eating low calorie, when we're doing a bunch of cardio, when we're stressed out, when we have increased levels of cortisol because we're not sleeping well. All those things send the signal to your brain to break down muscle mass for energy. So carbohydrates help counteract that signal. Carbohydrates are good. You will never see a fit athlete with muscle who is eating low carb. That is not a thing. Not a thing. Physiologically, not a thing. Okay? So we want to make sure that you are having carbohydrates to allow your body to hold on to its muscle mass. Carbs are also incredibly crucial for your thyroid health, which women are 5 to 8 times more likely than men to develop a thyroid condition. And we know that it increases during perimenopause and menopause and increases when our cortisol levels are high and when we eat low carb. Okay? When our thyroid function is low, our body sucks at burning calories, making weight loss harder and weight gain a lot easier. Carbohydrates help support our thyroid. So carbohydrates should not be reduced or completely taken out of your diets, okay? So otherwise, you're increasing your risk even more, which again, we do not want. Carbs are how we get fiber, which have a ton of health benefits like lowering your cholesterol, which again is an issue when estrogen goes down. Fiber helps improve your blood sugar control by slowing down the absorption of glucose in your bloodstream and how quickly it breaks down. It improves your digestive health, which we all know bloating is a side effect during perimenopause and menopause, which is not fun. It doesn't make you feel very confident and sexy and good about yourself. And it's also great for skin health and your weight management, right? So that's how we get fiber. You're going to have a low fiber diet if you have a low carb diet. If you're getting a lot of fiber, then I'm worried about you because that tells me that you're eating a lot of highly processed food where they inject fake fiber into it. So the protein bars and the protein Pop-Tarts and the protein cookies and the protein cereals and the protein this and the protein that, right? So that tells me you're eating a lot of processed non-whole foods, which is likely going to increase inflammation as well, which is not what we want. We want most of our food coming from whole foods. We also know the biggest one is that carbs lower your cortisol levels, which we know is a huge issue, particularly in perimenopause and menopause, because when estrogen goes down, our cortisol levels can increase much more quickly. So before you could handle like a 9 out of 10 on the stress scale before you saw cortisol come up. And when cortisol comes up, we know that you are going to see worse hormone production, which means more hormonal symptoms and belly fat, which is not a good time. You're going to see more issues with blood sugar control, which again leads to more fat accumulation, especially around the belly. And again, makes you feel terrible, low energy, more cravings. Our thyroid function goes down, which slows down our metabolism, making it harder for our body to burn calories, making weight loss harder. We see our gut health gets worse, so more bloating, more constipation, more food intolerances, more leaky gut syndrome, more food sensitivities and allergies. We see our liver health takes a hit, so then we have a harder time detoxing things. We see a higher increase in our inflammation. We have more symptoms of like estrogen dominance typically, which is not good, right? We see our energy get worse, our sleep get worse, which again is all going to lead to even higher cortisol levels. And it's going to lead to even more cravings and more energy issues, making it a lot easier to reach for the not so great food choices, right? So we know that this is so, so important. So why are you actively taking things out of your diet that are going to counteract the high levels of cortisol? Because now that estrogen is lower, you can't handle a 9 out of 10. Now it's a 5 out of 10. And now cortisol spikes up. So you're like, I haven't changed anything and my body's changing. Internally, your hormones shifted and you didn't shift what was happening on the outside. So now there's an imbalance there. Okay, so it's like you had this big dinner plate with all this food on it. The plate was big enough to hold it. Now estrogen decreases and now that plate is shrinking and shrinking and shrinking, but you didn't take anything off the plate. So now it's overflowing and your body can't handle it anymore. So we need to counteract those things. And no, you can't always remove stress from your life, right? That's not realistic. We can't just like, all of a sudden have the best of everything, the best boss and deadlines magically disappear and our kids are always super great and we always have a great night's sleep, right? Those things don't happen. So you need to learn how to counteract stress by changing certain aspects of your lifestyle, adjusting how you're working out, eating enough food, having enough carbohydrates. All these things are going to help decrease that stress response. Okay, so this is super important. And the more stressed that you are, the more active that you are, typically the more that you struggle with sleep and energy, the more carbohydrates that you're going to need. Okay, and this can be scary to start incorporating, right? But if you start incorporating carbohydrates before you hit like menopause, everything is so much easier. But the thing is, we've spent so many years dieting and cutting carbs that our body starts going through this increased stress, increased inflammatory state of menopause where it's hard to build muscle. And now you're trying to play catch up and it's really hard. So you need to do these things and set yourself up for success earlier to make that transition easier. Number 4. So we've covered 3 things so far. This podcast is long and I am sorry, but I just get so excited about these things. So the first one was lifting heavy, proper program, proper rest periods. 2, incorporating cardio once it is appropriate for you, which for most of you, it's not. That's the last thing you're going to do. 3, carbohydrates. Number 4, protein. Protein. So important. You see everywhere that we need to have higher protein diets, right? There is a reason for that. It's super necessary for building muscle mass. If you do not have protein, you cannot build muscle. Okay, so you need to have the how can I explain this naturally? So let's say you're building a house. You can't build the house unless you have the people there doing the work, right? That is you doing resistance training. But they can't do the work unless they have the material. The material is the protein. If you do not have enough protein, you cannot build muscle. That's what they're made from. It will not happen. Plus, protein also helps you with like skin health, skin elasticity, right? Everyone's talking about collagen and taking all these extra fancy protein supplements. If you just get enough protein in your diet, your skin will be healthier because you have what your body needs to build skin. It improves skin elasticity, the appearance of wrinkles, all those things. Your hair is able to grow when you have enough protein. When you don't have enough protein, you don't have enough things to build the hair. Hair is not that important for survival, so you'll lose it. Get enough protein in your diet. It helps with blood sugar control because and when you're having protein, it slows down how quickly things break down. So you're not getting the blood sugar spikes and drops. It also helps keep you full longer because of that. So you're not having as many cravings. So many benefits to protein. Okay, you want to make sure that you're getting 0.8 grams per pound of body weight or ideal weight plus 10 pounds because most of you are aiming for really low body weights, but you want to have a more toned, muscular body. You want to look lean, but that doesn't happen without much muscle, which is heavy. So you need to make sure that, I always say, take your ideal weight, add 10 pounds to it because that's likely what your ideal body actually looks like. So you're taking your body weight in pounds and then timesing it by 0.8. That's what you want to get. I typically like to max women out around 150 grams of protein just because past that, protein is tough to digest on your body. It takes a lot of energy. So it ends up being more challenging on your gut if it's too high. But also you start relying on a lot of non-whole food sources. This is where we start seeing people really relying heavily on powders and shakes and the protein bars and, the Pop-Tarts, the muffins, the pancakes, all those things, right? So we want to make sure that's not the case. We want to get most of our protein from whole food sources. A mix of plant-based and animal-based is awesome. You want to make sure you're getting 30 grams of protein at a time. 30 grams at each meal is amazing. So if you're doing that, you're getting 30, 30, 30. That's 90 grams of protein. Like, you're doing great. And then you want to make sure you're getting 3 to 4 grams of leucine. That's an amino acid that's really important for building muscle, harder to get in your diet for a lot of women. So that's always helpful. Taking creatine is awesome too. That's another little supplement I like to toss in there. Great for you for both for gym performance, for building muscle, and actually cognitive benefits. So tackling like brain fog and things like that. And then you want to make sure that you're having protein throughout your day, because protein helps counteract that muscle breakdown signal. And we see that muscle breakdown signal starts to increase 3 to 4 hours after we've had protein. So you want to have protein regularly throughout your day. Every 3 to 4 hours, you want to get some protein in there. There was something else I wanted to say. Oh, yes. And muscle breakdown occurs when we are fasting, not eating enough food, not getting enough protein. So this is why having protein at breakfast is so important, because you've gone all night without it. You've gone all night without food. Why would you want to continue that muscle breakdown signal throughout the day? Like, get it in earlier. And if you're not having breakfast, like getting 140 grams of protein within 2 meals and a snack is a lot of protein, especially if you're getting it from whole food sources. You are going to be so full. The other thing with protein that I like to tell people is track where you are first. Okay? Because if you go from 40 grams of protein to 90 just overnight, like, you are going to be constipated, you are going to be bloated, you're probably going to be gassy, and you're not going to feel very good. So we need to increase your protein slowly, typically around like 10 to 15 grams each week, and build you up slowly, because it is tougher to digest. Another pro about protein, because it is tougher to digest, it takes more energy to break down. You actually burn more calories in digestion from eating protein compared to carbs and fat. So just from eating like 100 grams of protein versus 100 grams of fat, or 100 calories of protein, 100 calories of fat, 100 calories of carbs, you are going to burn more calories during digestion from the protein compared to the carbs and fat. So another reason why protein is so great. The next thing is you need to track your progress and reflect, which people are like, what? Yes. Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. How many of you track your food and then you're just like, oh, I didn't really reach my goal. I'll just try again tomorrow. And then you do that again the next day and the next day and the next day and the next day. And you never look back at your data because you're like, I feel like I'm getting more protein. I'm trying to get more protein. Why isn't this working? Well, Stacy, let's look. You're actually only getting 75 grams of protein every day. But I feel like I'm getting more protein. I'm trying to get more protein. Your body doesn't care. Your body responds if you get enough protein. Are you getting enough protein? Yes or no? That's it. There's no feeling in this. And like, yes, this is where people get frustrated because they're like, I feel like I'm trying so hard. I feel like I'm putting in so much effort. This isn't working. It's not working because you're not reaching them. You're not hitting your goals. You're not actually doing the thing. That's why you're not getting the results. And a lot of people are going to go, no, Steph, I'm doing everything right. I'm doing everything right. Cool. Then you're probably not eating enough food, which we're going to talk on in a little bit here. But you need to track these things. I feel like I'm getting more sleep. I feel like I'm working on stress management. I feel like I'm getting more steps in. I feel like I'm pushing myself in my workouts. I feel like I'm getting more protein. I feel like I'm eating more foods. Are you? How do you know? If you're not tracking, you have no freaking idea. So if you really want this, you have to start tracking somewhere. Or I'll get women who are like, oh, can you figure out my calories for me? Because I do that for everyone. Anyone who asks, I will figure out where your calories should actually be. I will do that for you for free, no questions asked. But they're like, oh, but I don't want to track. Then why the heck do you want to know your calories? Make it make sense. Why do you want to know what your calories should be and your protein intake should be if you aren't going to track? That doesn't matter. They'll be like, hey, can you tell me the secret to making $1 million? But I'm not going to do anything to like make sure I get there. I just need to know. Why? Why do you need to know something if you're not going to do something? That'd be like your kid being like, hey, can you show me how to dribble a basketball? But I'm actually never going to practice how to do it. Why would you show them? That's a waste of your time. It's not going to benefit them any at all, right? So think about these things, right? Like you want answers to stuff. You want to get the thing. You want the solution, but you aren't willing to do the work. And there's always going to be some sort of trade-off. There's always going to be some sort of trade-off. Like you have to be willing to trade some sort of leisure or something that you're doing right now to do the thing that's going to help you get to that next level, that goal, whatever it is that you want to achieve. But if you're not willing to track and reflect, like you're never going to get there. That's like waking up every day and being like, man, why am I not a millionaire yet? I feel like I'm saving money. I feel like I'm not spending money at Starbucks that much. Have you looked at your bank statements? At least you have that to look back on, right? You can, but you got to organize it somehow. You need to look back and reflect and then make a plan. So do this with your strength. How are you actually keeping track of your workouts? Are you getting stronger? How many repetitions did you do last time? How do you know you're actually challenging yourself in workouts? Because you might feel like you worked harder, but did you or did you not lift more weight? Because that's what's going to make your body respond. Your body doesn't care if it was a sweatier workout. I can make a workout super hard for you. I can make a workout super sweaty. All I got to do is add in some unnecessary running, some unnecessary jumping, some burpees, some rowing. That's like the cardio machines, the stair climber. I can make that workout seem really hard and really challenging. But that doesn't mean it's going to be effective in building your self muscle because none of those things help you build muscle. So you need to track that. Same with your nutrition. Are you consistent in your calories? I feel like I'm more consistent. Well, I get people who send me their tracking. They're like, oh, look, my average is this. Yeah, but one day you had 2,300 calories and the next day you had 15. That's not consistency. That's a stress on your body. Okay, so these are all things that you need to track and you need to pay attention to. Like we still do this with clients who've been in our program for a year. We do 2-week challenges with our clients where we focus on different habits to let them reflect and be like, am I actually being consistent? Am I actually doing the things? Because how you feel and your perceived effort doesn't mean crap, to be honest, which sucks to hear, but it's a little bit of a reality check that sometimes people need where it's like, I feel, but are you yes or no? Because I can feel like I'm saving my money, but if I'm not, I'm never going to have a bigger bank account. I feel like I'm practicing a lot and trying really hard. Am I? How many shots am I practicing for my free throw in basketball? Right? Like you're never going to get to where you want to be unless you have like some consistency in tracking there. Because if you don't, like, of course you're never going to get there. That's like being like, oh, I'm taking so many steps, but I'm never getting to Mount Everest. Well, you're staying in one spot. Are you tracking the distance that you're traveling day to day? I mean, that's your problem right there. But then you can look back and see, okay, I'm not consistent or I'm struggling with this or my protein's all over the place. What can I do to ensure that I do better next week? And you make a plan. Maybe all it is just making sure you have a high protein snack with you in your car at all times. Maybe it's some beef jerky, Maybe that's the little thing that you need. But we tend to overcomplicate it. And we're like, oh, it's too hard. I'm not seeing results. You need to track and reflect and then make a plan. So this isn't going to happen on accident. Like, look at how much women around you are struggling during perimenopause and menopause with their weight. But, oh, I'm trying so hard. It doesn't matter. You need to do the things. Okay? So that's a little bit of tough love there. And I know it can be hard to accept. But the truth is, it's all in your control. Okay? Like, yes, hormones are changing. Cool. There's a million things that we can do to really hone in on this that you can control and make the choices that then influence your hormones to be in a better spot. Yes, our cortisol levels can be really high, and that's preventing you from losing weight. But you know what caused the high cortisol levels? The choices that you're making. And that can be a really tough pill to swallow because it doesn't feel good to realize that you are where you are because of choices that you've made. And yeah, you made choices based on like information you thought was good, right? Or the best information you had at that time, and that's fine. However, you still need to take responsibility that you made those choices. Now you're dealing with those consequences. And now are you going to actually do something to correct those the right way? So this is where understanding all the things that you've done until this point probably didn't benefit you. And now we have to like move backwards, correct all those things and set you up for success. So wouldn't it be amazing if you got to do this stuff before you hit that spot? Like, why wait until rock bottom or until you're so unhappy to do something about it? Why not do it now? Why wait until the hole is so deep that you need to ask for so many resources and spend so much more time building yourself out of there? Do it when it's a pothole. Wouldn't that make more sense? Okay, so that's number 5. Track progress and reflect. I know that was a little bit mean, but like, I've just had this conversation too many times. Number 6, eat enough and eat often enough. You can't build muscle in a low calorie state. You cannot. And we know, we just talked about muscle mass decreases, fat mass increases. How do we avoid this? Make sure we're building enough muscle mass. How do you build muscle mass? Eat enough food and resistance train, have enough protein, have enough carbs. End of story, the end. Okay, so stop skipping meals. Stop. Fasting has no benefit in muscle mass for menopause, especially for those who are very active, which should be everyone. So can we just agree to eat our breakfast? Can we just agree to eat our breakfast? This helps your cortisol levels so much. Eat your breakfast. Eat your breakfast. Eating low calorie is so stressful on the body. And so many of us are just living in this state now where it's like, yeah, your metabolism used to be like 2,000 calories. And now it's 1,200 calories if you eat above that you gain, because you've constantly been digging the system and dieting over and over and over, or you're there for so freaking long. But now that's where your body set point is. So we need to work on actually improving that. You don't want to be dieting for a long time. You should never be in a fat loss phase more than 3 months, 12 weeks max, because then your metabolism starts to slow down and you don't want that to happen. You don't want that to be your new normal. You want to eat food like a normal human being and not gain weight. Right? And we see people who are like, "Oh, I got my scan and my BMR is 1,100 calories, so I only eat 1,200 calories." 1,100 calories is what your body needs to survive if you were just to sleep all day. Then you have like the stressors of life, you have movement, you have work, like you aren't eating enough to sustain what your body needs to survive if you're eating that little. So of course you're going to gain weight because your body is like freaking out. It thinks that you're like struggling and you've gone back and forth, and then you like have this super low calorie diet and then you start eating more and your body's like, okay, we need to hold on to this because like we don't know when you're going to start starving yourself again. So your body holds on to that stuff. And in the process, you keep losing muscle and you keep losing muscle and you keep losing muscle. And that's going to cause so many problems. So just eat your breakfast and eat enough food, because eating low calorie is a huge stress on our body. And so are the changes that happen when our hormones start to decline. So what we see is that our body can't deal with stress effectively. We talked about this already, the dinner plate analogy, right? So you're just adding stress on top of stress on top of stress because now you're working out even harder. More stress, not eating enough food, more stress, hormones decline, more stress, not sleeping enough, more stress, skipping meals, more stress. Then you have all of life stuff, more stress, more stress, more stress, more stress. Of course, your cortisol is going to be crazy. Of course, you're going to struggle with your weight. So why not be proactive and fix these things now before it gets worse? Why not learn how to eat, what your body needs, how to support it properly, even if you're not feeling like, oh, my symptoms aren't that bad right now? Wouldn't you like to know that you are on the right track so that if things do take a dive, you aren't dealing with all these crazy stories that you hear? Because it's sad. I talk to women every day who are in this spot and it's like, man, if you would have just figured this out 5 years earlier, you would have set yourself up for so much more success. You would have gotten rid of so much hardship, right? So this is where we really, really, really need to understand that we need to eat enough food. Like you should be eating at maintenance far more than being in a fat loss phase. You're not supposed to be constantly chasing fat loss all the time, because this is where you're stuck now. This is why doing every single crazy challenge and every single crazy diet where you're just dropping and dropping and dropping just destroys your body. I have a beautiful graph of what this looks like with dieting, with your muscle mass, your metabolism, your fat mass in our Facebook community that illustrates it very beautifully and helps make sense of everything so you can really understand how this affects your body. It's like a 7-minute video. If you head to our Facebook community, you'll be able to watch that. It's pinned to the top. And it really shows how all these fat loss efforts and diets that you've done, and then boom, you hit menopause, what happens to all your hormones and your fat mass and everything. And it's not a very pretty graph. It's kind of sad, but you need to be educated to understand why this happened, how it happens, so you can like A, fix it, and B, make sure it doesn't happen again. And you can tell other people about it, because this is causing so many women to have such a harder life than they need, and they're not happy. They're not happy, right? And then number 7 is sleep. Sleep is so huge. And I know this is something women are like, oh, I haven't slept since my kids were born. Well, I'm sorry for you, because sleep is huge. Sleep is huge because when we're not getting good quality sleep, we have a reduced ability to build muscle mass because growth hormone peaks when we're having good quality sleep. If we are having low quality sleep, cortisol spikes, which breaks down muscle mass, which increases cravings, which increases energy crashes, blood sugar issues, making weight loss significantly harder. In fact, there was a study that showed that there was 2 groups in a calorie deficit in fat loss. The group that got worse quality sleep lost more muscle, lost less fat, and had way more issues with appetite regulation. So they had more cravings. So getting enough sleep is so key to your success. And we know that as hormones change, we can start to suffer with our sleep, right? So we have to be proactive in what this looks like. So one of the great strategies that we like to use with women is have a bedtime snack with some carbohydrates and some protein or fat. So oatmeal with like some protein powder or Fairlife milk, having some popcorn with a turkey pepperoni stick, having a piece of whole grain bread with some peanut butter, having some meat, cheese, and crackers, doing like the protein bites with the oats and the peanut butter, things like that. Having a bedtime snack like an hour before bed helps lower cortisol levels. It allows melatonin, your sleepy hormone, to go up so you can fall asleep more easily. That stabilizes your blood sugars through the night because you're having a slow digesting carbs, so something with a little bit more fiber, a little more oomph to it. So you're not going to have a spike and a drop. So you're not having fruit before bed, for example, or that donut or that ice cream, because that's going to spike and drop your blood sugars. When that happens, you see in the middle of the night, your cortisol spikes and that wakes you up. So having that bedtime snack can make a huge difference, as well as supplementing with magnesium biglycinate. If you have 400 milligrams before bed, that can make a huge difference. It's also great for hormonal pathways, great for body relaxation and muscle soreness. Magnesium is amazing and all women should be taking it. It helps lower your cortisol levels. If cortisol is really high, it actually depletes your body of magnesium. So supplementing with magnesium is so key. So I want to summarize all that. I'm sorry I got a little bit ranty, but like it's been really hard and sad for me lately. And I don't know if it's just like where I'm at recovering on my hormone journey right now. If I get a little bit more emotional, and if I cry, I might cry. I can feel it coming already. So I'm sorry in advance. But like the conversations that I'm having with women as of late, and again, message me if you want. It takes me a while to respond. I'm sitting at like 78 messages, no matter what, between Instagram and Facebook and my email, but I will always answer. It's going to take some time to get back because again, I sit down and make sure I have my dedicated attention when I'm answering you. I'm not just doing it on the fly in the car or things like that. Like I'm focused in answering because you deserve, if you're asking a question, asking for help, you deserve to have my undivided attention to give you the best information that I can, right? So if it takes me a while, it's because I'm not in a good headspace and I want to make sure that I'm in the best position to answer your questions. So just to let you know that. But the conversations I've been having lately have been very emotional for me. Like people are like, oh, I started to notice this stuff this time and now it's 5 years later and like they're in such a position that I wish that they would have started sooner. If they would have learned this stuff sooner or taking it more seriously sooner, because things change so quickly in this time of your life. And life is just stressful. In this time of our life, we're dealing with like, big family changes with like empty nesters, right? Or we're taking care of sick parents or we're starting to lose some of our loved ones. And that's really hard. right? And it's like that added stress of losing someone. Sorry, I knew this was going to happen because I've been talking to a lot of women about this stuff lately. It's like the trigger that just like sets off what feels like your life is spinning out of control. And it breaks my heart because not only are you dealing with trying to recover from this grief or find this new identity of yourself or, just these huge life changes, now you also just don't feel like yourself. You don't feel like the person you used to be. You look in the mirror and you don't recognize yourself. And so you're also battling this internal battle with yourself and this self-talk and this negative mindset. And then you convince yourself that you hate yourself. And like we see this in women so much. And it just breaks my heart because it shouldn't be this way. And it hurts to see, and I want to just help you all so, so much. And I just wish that more women would take the time to start learning these things and actually doing the things sooner, because you never know what's going to come your way. You never know what hardships are going to come, who you're going to lose, the trauma you'll experience that will make it feel like you're never going to get out of it. So if you can establish these things sooner, that's amazing. But also trying to establish some of this stuff when it's hard is important too. Because if you can master this when you're going through hard times and like make these habits, then when life is quote unquote easier, it's going to be a cakewalk for you to maintain these habits. If you can do this stuff when you're struggling, it'll be even easier when it's easy. But don't wait until that point to start. So for these 7 things, you want to actually start lifting properly. A good program. We have a program you guys can subscribe to. It's $45 a month Canadian, $35 USD. It does all that for you, okay? Or you can find programs wherever. But you want to follow a progressive overload program. You want to lift heavy. You want to take longer rest periods. Appropriate cardio once you are ready. Having enough carbohydrates to help buffer cortisol and support that muscle so that we're not losing it. Having enough protein and often enough. You are tracking your progress and reflecting, because I hate hearing, I feel like I'm doing this. I think that I'm doing that. I think it's getting better. You need to know. Take control of your life and stop guessing. Take control of your life. Eat enough food, eat it regularly to support better cortisol levels, to support your muscle mass, to support your hormones, for better sleep so you can really maximize your health and live your life. Because if you are in a low place and already struggling and that hard stuff hits, our emotions get the better of us, right? And we don't think rationally and we start being desperate and reaching out for these things that don't work and aren't sustainable. I hate seeing that. And then prioritizing your sleep. And I know it sounds simple to, lift heavy, do appropriate cardio, have enough carbs, have enough protein, do some sort of tracking, eat enough and sleep. Those sound simple, right? Simple doesn't mean it's easy. And it's going to be challenging. And you just have to be prepared for that and the realistic expectation that it's not going to happen in 3 months. You're not going to heal everything and lose all the weight you want to lose in 3 months, probably not even 6 months, maybe not even 9. This is a whole shift on everything you've ever learned, everything that you've ever understood, and you're relearning your body again and what it needs for you, right? So if you have questions with this, if you need help understanding where to start or like what would be the best thing to start on for you, or how many calories you should be eating, or what's enough protein, what's enough carbs, is your exercise actually good for you and what you're trying to achieve for your goals, just message me. Message me, email me. Honestly, the best thing would be to book a consultation call. You will get your answers far quicker if you hop on a call than if you message me, just because it does take me a long time. But if you prefer that, that's totally fine. Just be patient, please. But book a consultation call. We don't bring up coaching ever. This is just solely a call to support you, give you information that you need, resources that are going to best support you. If you want to talk about coaching down the road, sweet, awesome, great. We would love to work with you. If not, I'm just happy that we were able to help you. So please take advantage of those free resources. Don't wait until it feels like nothing is working anymore. Don't wait until you can't wait anymore Choose the decision to invest in yourself, your time, your efforts into your health the right way, to start focusing on your sleep and all these things now before you're forced to. Okay? Take control of your life. That's all I ever want for you. I love you. I hope this was helpful. I'm sorry that I cried. I love you so much, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.